Business today, and I'm Rick Cheatham, and I'll be conducting the meeting today. We have a quorum, so Connie, would you please call the roll?
Lurick,
Here.
Mangum,
Here.
Mansfield,
Here.
Marchand,
Here.
Nichols,
Here.
Platt, Cheatham.
Here. Item 2 on our agenda is a fire union quarterly update. Representatives from the Pocatello Fire Union are supposed to be here to give the council an update on the activities for the past quarter. Is someone here from the fire union? All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 3. Bannock Development Corporation update. Mia Kate Kennedy's with us today. She's the executive director of Bannock Development Corporation. She'll present to give the council an update of BDC's activities and achievements. The floor is yours, Mia Kate.
Mia Kate Kennedy, the first CEO of Bannock Development Corporation. I see some new faces at the council, so welcome to you guys as well. A little bit about me for your sake. I took over 2 years ago, almost to about 2 years and 2 weeks ago, and we have changed Bannock Development pretty extensively to focus mostly on economic development, and that has entailed narrowing down our actual voting board from 38 to 9, but also including many of our experts in different areas on SPA teams, which are strategic partner advisor teams. I currently am assembling a advisory team that will be for myself, for the CEO, and those groups of people will be helping me with their expertise out in the field and letting me know what they're seeing, what's happening in schools, what's happening with the different, police, fire, everything that's out there. They will be advising me on that so that I don't always have to be at so many meetings and so many things and not doing economic development. So some of the biggest accomplishments since the last time I'm here, we're still currently working on the airport. Obviously, that's an everyday project. I personally made a pledge to Mayor Bled that I would use only Pocatello Airport to go out if I could. And if anybody knows my background, today is a great day to be alive because 3 weeks ago, I went on vacation, and on my very first day of vacation, I landed in the hospital with viral pneumonia. So today is my first day fully back. I actually was out of town, so I had to go through that out of town. So I'm feeling much, much better, and just happy to be here. It was a pretty good diet for me, so I'm a lot better shape now. With that, working at the airport and what we've been doing with the airport, we hired a consultant, Bannock Development did, because we're public-private. So we get about $140,000 from City of Pocatello, County, and Chubbuck. And so obviously every year that's not a huge chunk of money once you take out salaries. We do not have any benefits, so I pay for my own benefits, which is quite costly. And it's also hard to engage staff to want to work for us without those benefits. But we've made some concessions for them. They work a 4-day work week, which a lot of them want, or our interns. And we do use the internship program with ISU, and it's amazing. We have a great intern. We're getting another one in January. We work with the College of Business and several other colleges of technology. I have a technology background, so we work with them, and it's been amazing. It's a great program, and we've just gotten really lucky. Back to the airport, we did hire an expert to come in. His name's Steve Van Beek. He is from the Steer Group out of Washington, D.C. He does several of the large airports throughout the nation, but his passion is also helping smaller airports to become viable and economies of scale. And the airport itself is such a huge asset. I get super excited when I fly in. I'm always passionate about it. If you've taken it, you got to take the bus in Salt Lake City. So it's always a good time to talk to everyone, see where they're from, see why they're riding to Pocatello. I saw Linda on my last flight in, actually. So it's always a great opportunity, and I would encourage everyone, if you do have flying plans, to use them. I'm a road warrior. I have been this year. I've attended a bunch of economic development conferences. I spoke directly with 5 site selectors about what are some of the things that we need to do to be in the eye of the business selectors. And we're super lucky because I have a lot of contacts out in the field. In my tech world, I have about 100,000 high-level IT connections. And so I'm able to often meet with businesses who I've had as clients before, and they're wanting to move or wanting to upgrade or wanting to do something. But during my latest conference in Chicago, it was a nationwide and actually international conference, and I can say that there was only 2 other representatives from the state of Idaho, and I say this as a little joke, but when I represented Seattle, it's all women at this particular conference, not for any reason. It just happens to be one. There's a lot of economic developers that are women, and they used to be like, we used to call each other like Miss Seattle or Miss whoever you're from, wherever you're from. And it was funny because when I was Miss Seattle, I got to sit with like, Michigan and New York and whoever. And when I was Miss Idaho now, I sat with like Kansas and Oklahoma. And but I can tell you that I wasn't very quiet out there. I let them know that Idaho is a really great state and our area is emerging. And they were so glad to finally hear from our area after so long. So it was super exciting to sit down with those particular site selectors, and some of the things that they encouraged us to work on is our branding. And we've been talking about this for a long time, and it's just time that we really sit down and do it. So I have it as a strategic plan for next year. Our strategic plans for this year have been really successful. We've worked on downtown, we've worked on the airport, we've worked on Northgate, workforce, and then working on industry selection. So of those 5 target areas, we've spent hours, at least 4 hours a day for the entire year, working on one project in that area or multiple projects throughout a day. So, I mean, I'm working 15, 18-hour days some days. I know a lot of people are. So it's just incredible what we have here. But those strategic plans have been so successful that we'll carry those over. We have a lot of businesses right now that either want to come here as a part of a vendor or working with LA Semiconductor or one of those that would like to move here. And those businesses are kind of on pause as we look to see what the market is going to do, what the economy is going to do, what we're going to do in housing, and what that looks like for transportation. So Bannock Development touches all of those areas every single day. We're looking at each category, and we're determining how can we bring in businesses and make actual full developments part of our plan. So in the past, we focused a lot on just bringing an individual business here, but currently we have 4 high-level projects that are hundreds of millions of dollars of investment. So these are investors that want to come here, but they also want to work in conjunction with other businesses that are already here, either in planned communities or at the airport. I'm currently working with a client who would like to bring a flight school, also helicopter service, and several other businesses that are industrial for the airport. But we're undergoing still the comprehensive plan. And while that comprehensive plan is going on, we are trying to overlay the development plan so that there's not a huge year-long gap. And we do have about a year. So I did also have an opportunity to in Chicago, I drove out, which is, if you've ever driven in rural Illinois. It can be crazy. I did it once with an Uber driver, and I thought, well, if I come back alive, this will be great. But this time I actually had one of our current strategic partners with me. They met me in Chicago, and we drove out, and we did spend some time with Morton Buildings. They are going to be opening in January. We spent a lot of time talking about what their goals are and what the future is here. And we also worked with them on some subsequent plans for some other business industries that they could work with that will actually help them, but maybe not coming here, but are actually able to help that business. So they were super excited. We were super excited. Our other strategic partners were really excited. So I can't say enough about our workforce and how much time we're putting in there to figure out what jobs we're lining up with what people. And I just have a question. So who here knows what the median age of our community is? So it's 32.9. So if you're looking for businesses and looking for careers and looking for how to keep people here, we have to start looking at our young people. We have to, and I mean, I respect every group, and everyone knows that I have a platform for seniors and you know, the vulnerable. And I love the community services that we have and how wonderful they are with the city. I cannot say enough about their the people in Brent's team. But when we're looking at those ages, that's something the site selector said as well, is we really need to focus on who is actually moving here or wanting to move here, and then who do we want to move here? Who do we want to entice? And that's where that branding session would be super important. I have talked about this since before I even got here, and we still don't have businesses on Google. So, you know, my platform when I first came here was we should have everybody on. We should have Google Maps. We should have it down. We should have them here so that Google Earth can see everything we have. And it's a simple process to get businesses to post a picture and post their coordinates, and not just their website, but all of that. It's a simple process. So I'm gonna be working with the chamber to make sure that we get that, because when you go to look as a business, you're gonna see that you don't see hardly anything here, and a lot of it is outdated. I actually worked with a contractor 2 days ago over the phone. We had a long session about the Pine Ridge Mall, and there was still stuff on there that was, you know, years old that isn't even there. And you know, we really need to focus in on getting who we are digitally into a capsule so that we can present that outward. And on that note, we're still working on our website. Unfortunately, Bannock Development has had 3 or 4 developers who have you know, during COVID, developers were huge, and then they got out of it and they sort of dropped you. So we've had some situations where we've had to start over, and we have a really great team now, and that's coming together. It has a GPS system in it, so you'll be able to look up all the properties and everything that you need, including all businesses, and any kind of data is already collated and will be put on our website, so we won't have to ask for it from anyone anymore. It'll automatically come from those sources. It was a rather expensive project and program, but we felt it was worth it for the people that are looking businesses to come here. So do you have any questions, anybody?
Corey?
So you were saying the median age, I have a couple. Median age is 32.9. Are we seeing that as an increase or a decrease as it relates to age?
We're seeing it as an increase. Those are the people that are coming.
Okay.
Those are the people that are moving here, maybe young families, maybe a young family, maybe someone at the college. We're not seeing droves of people. It's 0.73, I believe now, and it was 0.36. We would obviously like to see that, you know, much higher. And, but we also have to look at what's behind that, and we don't have housing. We don't have enough housing. And so that's a huge platform that normally economic development does not work in, but because we're working on huge collaborative projects, housing is obviously in the works. So
is that median age getting older or younger?
they're getting younger. They'll be younger. I mean, we have currently a population that's broken down where the older age groups are actually smaller, and we are getting younger people. But we want the age group from 18 to 28 really to be that initial entry workforce who are going to plan to work and live and stay here.
So my last question, you talked about there were partners who were looking to venture over into Idaho or into Pocatello here in Idaho. So are there any concessions that these businesses are looking for from the city? Or are they just interested in, it's a great area, this is a great opportunity? Or obviously there would probably have to be some give and take, but are there specific concessions that they're probably looking at?
So we're in a little bit of an unfortunate situation because there's a lot of states who give everything. I mean, Texas, other states, I could name a bunch, we all know. And so the opportunities for those incentives are big, but they also don't have things like power now. So, we have commodities that nobody else has. And when I was at the latest conference, Kansas, for example, they don't have any more land that they can give to bigger projects or industrials. So they're like, we'll send those to you, Mia Kate. We never had anyone from Idaho to talk to. And I'm like, we'll take those. We'll take all those project referrals. So even though they might get great incentives in that state, they don't have the commodities, the water and the power. And that being said, sometimes people, I think they look at me and they think, oh, this job, it's so easy, and really at night, my shoulders have such a heavy burden because we look at businesses and we have to say, if this business comes here like a Meta, if they come here and use all our water and have to have water and all our power, what does that do for the 15 other businesses that we could potentially bring? And are we willing to bring the one and not be patient and bring the right ones? And that's where every night I go, am I making the right decisions in pursuing this and this? And obviously I have a great board and I have great advisors. I encourage everyone, I say this at every meeting, to come and spend a day with me. You'll sign an NDA, but you'll see exactly how intense and how deep we go to get businesses here and what we're looking at for those. So the incentives that we can offer are actually really good when we also have the commodities they need and the utilities and the workforce, with the college. The university has been amazing at working with, say, Morton. They didn't ask us for any incentives at first. I worked Morton from day one all the way through. They still call me about things. We have a great relationship. They're just an amazing, great company. And I think really they were willing to give some things and work with the city as being actual partners. And really, those are really the types of businesses that if we can get a lot of those, we're all going to be super successful. So I think we have good incentives, and they're not necessarily asking for that. They want water, land, and they want power, especially industrial businesses, but also even small market businesses that might have vendors or agriculture yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, we're in good shape. I think we can sell. We just need an image update.
Linda and then Brent.
I have one quick question and then something else I want to talk about. But the airport consultant that you hired, is that the one that came here and gave that presentation? He was excellent. So I'm glad that's...
He's coming back.
Okay.
He'll be back. He was supposed to be back. My fault. I got ill and I was traveling for over a month and going to these conferences, meeting businesses, and actually, at airports, sort of learning some of their development plans. I've been really blessed to have great contacts. So a lot of times I can just go to like Payne Field and they'll let me in and they'll show me the inside, or SeaTac or Spokane, some of those bigger ones, some on the East Coast. So he's coming back and he's also super excited. He's worked with our new comprehensive planner that you guys have. He talked to him this last week and he's a great guy and they have a lot of plans together. So we'll be rolling that out as the first of the year comes, and I'll keep you guys apprised of that. So
Okay.
you can be involved.
The other thing is more of a comment, but and not to say this is new, you've been talking about it for a long time, but I'm glad to hear you stress the importance of branding. And also very glad that we now have a council that recognizes a full council that recognizes the importance of that. So I think we will finally be able to move forward on that. And I just think that's one of the most critical keys to our success in terms of economic development.
It really is, and I appreciate that. For those of you that are new, Bannock Development is in a unique situation because we don't actually have an economic developer sitting in the city. We are able to pull the trigger on things fast because we're a neutral party, we're public-private, and we're also able to fund that and do that funding ourselves. And so it's such a benefit. There's only about 6 EDOs throughout the nation that are like us, and it's kind of catching on. I actually was approached to quit this job and actually just teach cities how to get an EDO that is more neutral, and I was like, I love what I do, I'm not leaving. And so, but the thought's out there. So we're really doing some new things that maybe seem small, you might not know about it, but because of that flexibility, we are able to work on like this branding and doing that. The encapsulation of who we are and what we want and where we're going is a message that we all need to have in unison, because that's what sells. Whenever you're out there, whoever you're talking to, when people come, they need that same message, and they need to believe it and be like me and be passionate about it, because people will, like even Morton, they were like, you're just so passionate about your area. What's so great about it? And it's those same things that we need to have down in a branding. And include our partners, include Chubbuck, include the entire area. Because this is all of us. It's not just, Pocatello or Bannock Development. Our image is, doesn't matter. What we are is I represent you and the communities. And so I'm always, extremely conscientious about that no matter where I go, and, that selling point. So if you could pursue that.
Yeah.
It would be really helpful. I know Chubbuck is willing, the county is very much on board. And when you get into that, really, I think just like with the airport, the experts are very helpful.
Yeah.
So, they know how to do it, they know what to do, and they know Spokane had near nature, near perfect. That was one of the most successful campaigns, and it's still going on. As they got more crime, some people kind of made fun of it, but those type of images are super, super important to be able to be out there selling, especially to site selectors who then hear about it.
I couldn't agree more, and I think it needs to be a positive message. I think we all need to be on message with the same message, and I think we need to work with professionals to craft that message and to frame that message.
And I think they come from the outside area, so they're looking in, they're the perfect people to look in. It's just like our airport guy, he had no idea how amazing our airport was until he came, and he's like, it is amazing, but people don't see that asset and how amazing it is. And we're so lucky that we're on the ground floor of this thing. And the economy of scale at an airport or Northgate or one of these areas is just so huge. And it's something that we don't want to overlook. So we've got to get it together. We'd be glad to, facilitate those meetings, either if it was either like once a week or once a month or however that was, and get everybody involved. Just to set all that up with our admin, or, someone else could, but we definitely need it, because for economic development to survive, we have to have the right message. And it's got to be an honest, sincere, and collaborative message.
I'm going to take a privilege and jump in here, Brent, ahead of you. I had a conversation last night with a personnel recruiter in Idaho Falls, and he asked when he found out I was on city council, what we can do to help him recruit people, particularly to the FBI and the site. And he needs 2 things. He needs housing, and we need a comprehensive branding program that includes Chubbuck in Bannock County and Pocatello and the entire area, just like what you're talking
Yes.
about, to tell our story. So when Mia Kate makes a contact, or the city makes a contact, or Chubbuck makes a contact, we're all telling the same story.
Right, and I
About the
think we would.
advantages that are here.
Sorry about that. I think too, what we have to look at from the site selectors, we're calling it a rebranding, but it's really a pro forma. We need a pro forma that tells where we're going, where we're at, and what our assets are. It's just like any business that we're selling. We're selling our community as a business, so to speak, and we need that pro forma. That's a 4 to 5 month project. I brought that to my board. It's ominous because there's a lot to put in there and it has to look right. I also suggested, like many of the other states, they have those hard copy and bound and they hand them out. And I look at them all the time to see what they're doing. Now, I'm a huge IT digital. If I could just do everything on IT, I would. But also when it comes to development, I'm a see, touch, feel. Everyone will say, why did you go out to Morton? I was literally the only person wooing them that went to their corporate office. It's like they were so glad to have someone in person to see me, to see what I'm like, to see what we're like, to see who we are. And we've done this consecutively on other projects. And those pamphlets and binders, those are so important to hand out to a lot of these things. And those performas that you can give them to HR. The guy in charge of one of the head guys of FBI was on the airplane in front of me, and we had a long conversation about what they need. I'm always working with their recruiters. We have a lot of meetings throughout the year. So we do need this, and we need that 4 to 5 month span to happen and then be done. And then we've got it and we can continually upgrade it and we could keep, that opportunity going. But we definitely have to have it because everyone else has it. We need it.
Right?
Did I hear you correctly? You said your total funding is $140,000?
So our total funding from government is, we
Okay.
have a private side.
Okay.
And this year, for the first time, we're really proud to announce that we have had, we call them visionary partners. So Portneuf Medical Center is now a visionary partner. I haven't made that announcement too much anywhere else. We will do something in the paper and some other things, but we're very gracious to Jordan and to Sean Menchaca and their entire board, and then also to some of the other medical partners that are willing to see that you in most cases as an organization, it's like we can only donate this much, but we actually are the economic development for Pocatello, Chubbuck, and the entire county. So it's not like it's really an elective, but that's kind of what it has been. So every year it's very difficult to plan because we don't know how much money we'll have outside of our salary. And I would like to see the private side come on board. We have great relationships with them. But it is something, that is very, we need the money. I mean, to do just for one project alone this year, let's take the airport, the travel, the communication, hiring, the consultant, and everything that goes with that was over $25,000. We have over 40 projects going. So, if you figure you can only give this one this much, or you need to be able to do that, we're the entity that does that. So I'm very gracious and grateful. I'm not taking a raise this year. I don't have benefits. I want my staff to grow, and I want them to be happy with what they have and be proud. And I'm glad to do that. I just want to be able to keep our corporation running because we do have such an incredible setup to be able to do economic development and be able to do it at a moment's notice. So, yeah, we have a smaller budget.
Right. So I'm new to the council here, so I don't know the number. How much does the city contribute to that
The
140?
city contributes $75,000 a year.
Okay.
The county contributes $70,000, and Chubbuck contributes $15,000. And so we have, and they do so on a sort of a different basis because they do have Devin Hillam, and I work directly with him as well. But his responsibilities in planning and whatnot are huge now. And so we are just on a basis where we're helping Chubbuck to do the economic development.
So other than the 75,000 that the city contributes, are there other things that the city could do, sort of, maybe beyond the branding, that could help you in your economic development efforts?
Well, for sure. I think definitely in the marketing component, money that they're spending, we could collaborate. We've also had that conversation with the county. And also with Visit Pocatello. So I don't think I've done this before in other bigger, larger metropolitan areas. And it would be rare that one entity would take on the expense of that. If we could come together and we could put sort of I don't want to say egos, but there's a lot of, we need to be called this, we need to do this. That's where an expert can really shuttle everyone together and say, these are some great options. Come with an open mind and let's look towards success, not towards our individual. We want to be called the Portneuf Valley. We want to be called this. We need to look at who and what we want to be and make that now. We have this opportunity. It's amazing. Once you have it, you have that for a long time. So we don't want to mess it up. And so, yeah, in the marketing, in any of the other areas, I work directly with Brent's here somewhere. I don't know where he is. Oh, he's amazing. This year, for the first time, we developed a reciprocity system. So we work together. We always know what's happening in between each other. We always get people on board right away so that we can be successful. Before, we were sort of doing it, and then they were doing it, and there was duplications, and people were confused about where they can go. We do have a current project. We will be making an announcement that anybody interested in the development part can contact Bannock Development. We'll make a list of all the interested investors and developers, and we'll actually help them come together so that they can work together to be successful as businesses. We won't just have them come and put a business in right next to someone else who it's maybe not complementary, and maybe they don't even know they're going there. So the planning is super important, and I commend Brent. He's amazing to work with, and it's really, the city is really a great asset and ally to me, and I'm very appreciative of that.
I have just one final thing here, and you've been through some of this, I'm sure, but so what would you see sort of the greatest advantages and the greatest drawbacks in your recruiting business to come here?
The greatest advantages are, like I said, we have great commodities, we've got great power, we've got great collaboration with power, we have great water, we have great land areas, and we have an amazing ability here to utilize talented people. We have that resource. We just need to harness it and keep harnessing it. And I'm proud that ISU is really doing that. They're working so hard. Sometimes it looks like maybe they are, maybe we aren't making the biggest moves there, but we really are. They're incredible. I can't say enough about that. And other colleges in the area. So we have great opportunity of talent. We really do. We need to attract more talent, and we need to be able to have the type of housing they want, the things they want to do here. Sometimes we think just building housing is great, but what are they going to do here? What do you do when you go to other cities? I went to Coeur d'Alene on my last day that I actually felt kind of decent. I probably didn't look it, but and I spent some time there. Now, I spent many years next to Coeur d'Alene, but I went there and I was like, wow, I can just go here for a day and look at all the things I can do and look at all the opportunities. And it was just wide open there. Coeur d'Alene has done an amazing job. It helps that they have that beautiful lake. It's a beautiful area. But beyond that, they have an essence and an area that is amazing. And we have that too. We just haven't really projected that, because I'm like, I cannot wait to get home. And I'm an outsider, but it does feel like home now. And so for me, we have all that, and I'm proud of it. So we have great assets. We have great commodities. We have great things. We obviously have to protect those at all costs as well and utilize those really well. The downfalls, we have a workforce issue. Our unemployment is low, and people are not clamoring to get jobs. And so we really need to focus on, and we're working statewide and regionally to determine how do we get people more talent here? How do we get that workforce here so businesses are willing to take that chance? Now, I can tell you when I talked to Morton, they were so excited that the college and the community was going to work with them to fill those positions. They told me they haven't filled all of them, and yet they feel like they're not worried. And so that's a great thing coming from their CEOs just a month ago. But if you're looking at a large scale business or large scale industry that wants to come here, they're going to be in trouble until we figure out more succinctly how to get them that talent. And that's a statewide effort. It can't just be us. It is our area, but it's a big task. And that's why we have added that task to Bannock Development's projects.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, council?
You had mentioned that housing wasn't necessarily in your purview, but you've been kind of stepping into that arena. So what steps are you taking, or what kind of things are you noticing action-wise to help develop housing, or that housing is on the way, or that's a huge question.
Yeah,
but-
well, if you look at the percentage of homeowners in the area, I'm always proud for people to be able to be owners. We have the opportunity nationwide right now, and I say opportunity, everyone kind of know, maybe that knows me closely kind of knows my vision on this. I have a young daughter, and she wants to own a home. They've already lived in a situation where they don't want to live communally, and they want to branch out on their own and start a family. And so I daily get developers, and if you ask me what's the number one thing people want to bring here, what do you think it is? Multi-tenant housing. It pencils right now, and so we have to look at what we need versus what can give an ROI to a developer. And some developers are more into building into the community what we need. And some are like, hey, I can build, 400 units right here and it's going to make me this amount of money. So I want to come here. But there's no leverage into how does that work for us? And that's where I would encourage you. I know in the past we all need housing, but I would encourage us to work together to say, but what kind of housing? We need multiple types of housing. Brent and I have had this conversation so many times because we were besieged with people that only want to build multi-tenant. So I have a daily I work on housing. I actually contact the developers now myself. I have a sort of know a lot about housing anyways, and so it helps that we've brought this into the economic development because without it, we can't develop. And so over the last 2 years after COVID, housing and workforce, actually doing workforce, not just finding jobs, became a new thing for economic developers. And so it's a huge task for us. But I reach out to developers and I really interview them and ask them, why do you want to come here? And do you see a long term here? Are you corporate? Are you local? Bring us houses, bring us condos, bring us a multitude of different things. Because even when I came, I didn't have a place to live. And we don't want that to continue to happen. We want people to have the housing that they want. And some of the small things that go with that. Many states are pet friendly, and we weren't necessarily pet friendly. So people that wanted to move here from other areas that are maybe love the outdoors, they all have dogs or they have pets. And they're like, I can't rent a place that I can bring my pet. So I'm going to go to Oregon or I'm going to go, you know what I mean? And that seems small, but pets became very huge. And I love animals. I'm a pet lover. I don't have one because I'm never home. But I do believe that those simple things like that, you wouldn't think would make a difference. But when I go to conferences, they're like, are you pet friendly? Are you friendly for, wheelchair and disability? And are you friendly for safety and security of women and children? These are all things they're looking at for their employees and then also people who just want to move here. So
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Council,
Anything
anything
else?
Thank you, Mia Kate.
You're welcome. Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda item number 4, the proposed expansion and improvement partnership with Portneuf Health Trust for the Community Recreation Center. Parks and Recreation Department staff members, John Banks, will give a presentation regarding a partnership opportunity with Portneuf Health Trust for a significant expansion and other improvements to the Community Recreation Center. Staff is seeking council input and direction regarding this potential partnership. Council may wish to consider directing staff to prepare an agreement between the city and Portneuf Health Trust, allowing for the expansion and other upgrades at the CRC facility for future council considerations. Welcome, John.
Thank you. I know you guys got this in your packet. I thought it might be nice to have it up on the big screen here. There we go. A little bit larger view. And I'll kind of be referring to that as we go here, but Council President Cheatham and members of the council, thank you for the opportunity to visit with you this morning on some pretty exciting news, a potential partnership with Portneuf Health Trust. The Parks and Rec Department has enjoyed a history of working together with the Health Trust to provide increased health and wellness opportunities for the community. Past successes include long-term health trust support for various Greenway Trails construction projects throughout the city, as well as their donation of specialized trail building equipment and maintenance equipment to the Outdoor Rec Division. Portneuf Health Trust is also a strong supporter of the Community Recreation Center with the services and programs that we provide there, aligning very closely with their mission of promoting health, improved health status for the residents of Bannock County and surrounding areas, as well as their Healthy City USA initiative and programming. Based on this mutually beneficial relationship, Portneuf Health Trust has expressed a desire to again partner with the Parks and Recreation Department for a significant expansion and other meaningful improvements to the city's Community Recreation Center in furtherance of their mission. Excuse me. The CRC expansion would include enclosing an internal open area at the east side of the existing building, which once served as an outdoor rope course, but has been defunct for many years. Development of this area would yield approximately over 3,200 square feet, 3,240-ish to be exact, of additional usable indoor facility space. And I've been waiting for weeks to use this handy little guy here. So this would be the orange indicated area on the sheet that I gave you, just to orient you. So that is now kind of an open air, like I say, defunct old rope course, not really serving much of any purpose, and it's kind of screaming to be enclosed if the resources were there. Your yellow highlighted area, this would be the existing weight room here. And so this is called a multi-purpose room should the expansion take place, because the weight area would be relocated, exercise area over to here. And just to orient you, Yellowstone is running here, and this is the front entrance of the building. If developed, staff would plan to relocate the existing fitness and cardio areas into this new and expanded location, allowing for increased fitness offerings to the community. Plus, vacating of the current fitness area frees up over 2,000 square feet of additional space available for new programming opportunities to address community needs and desires and to affect positive health outcomes. And also the social interaction and connections that seem to serve to improve self-esteem and well-being and positive mental health are also another huge benefit of the rec center. In addition to the expansion, other planned facility improvements and updates would include new flooring, ceiling tiles and paint in the lobby and main common hallway areas, and also some exterior building improvements and enhancements, painting and landscape, lighting improvements, building branding and these types of things. Excuse me, council. This would greatly enhance the overall usability and desirability of the rec center facility for the community. Cost estimates for these improvements is approximately $1.25 million. Portneuf Health Trust, under this partnership scenario, would completely fund this project via a partnership agreement, including design services, as well as contracting and overseeing project construction, basically delivering a completed project with a bow on it to the city for ownership and community use and enjoyment.
John, can you just say the cost again?
1.25 million
Okay.
is the current estimate.
Okay.
For context, you may recall kind of similar types of things happening with Greenway projects where the Portneuf Greenway would go out and seek and secure grant funding and then contract out the design and oversee, also contract out the construction company and oversee that construction and then deliver the finished product and ownership to the city. So kind of that same model that we've used on Greenway stretches throughout the city. In return, staff would propose that the Health Trust receive the high visibility and exposure recognition outlined in your executive summary and via partnership agreement, including naming rights for the newly constructed weight exercise fitness area. And we were Sean and I were kind of tossing around names, but Healthy City USA Fitness Center or something to that effect is kind of what we were thinking might be nice. A display of the Health Trust provided logo on the outside wall facing Yellowstone. So this area here. At the entrance of the new fitness center and then on the interior wall of the fitness center. We would also like to include limited no-cost facility use for Healthy City USA initiative, educational and instructional offerings, and we were thinking that this vacated new multi-purpose space would be fantastic for those types of things. Partnership recognition on Parks and Rec Center pages on the city's website, and also granting the Health Trust some opportunities for no-cost monthly memberships of up to 15 per month for them to distribute to specific community members that are participating in their Healthy City USA programming whose health may need improvement. These are pretty kind of standard returns on investment, naming rights being the bigger one and the biggest in recognition. The no-cost monthly memberships up to 15 per month. So I guess worst case scenario, you're talking about maybe, I don't know, a few $1,000s in free things for the Health Trust for kind of giving the 1.2 million. But the good news on that is that there's no hard cost to the city for any of this stuff. So, and I see this as kind of a win-win. You know, obviously you want folks to get healthy. I'm hoping, and I'm pretty confident that a good majority of them will fall in love with the facility and want to continue to stay healthy, and it will turn into a revenue stream as we go along. So that's kind of the hope with that return on investment. The Health Trust would also ask that the city continue to operate and maintain the facility in good working order and continue to invest and make improvements where possible outside of the Health Trust partnership scope as resources permit. So pretty general. We're already doing that. I can't see us not continuing to do that. I know Scott was at our Parks and Rec advisory board meeting last week, and I kind of did an overview of the fiscal 2022 kind of budget status, revenues and expenditures. And this facility is cost recovering at over 70%. So it's very healthy for the bang for the buck that it provides the community. So that request of theirs is, I think we do that anyway. So it's not really much of an ask. And with that, staff is seeking council input regarding the Parks and Recreation Department's potential partnership with the Health Trust for expansion and other upgrades at the community center, And if appropriate, council may wish to direct staff to draft a partnership agreement between the city and Health Trust for future council consideration. I've attached these in your packet, and I've also prepared an executive summary, which pretty much is kind of what I've summarized here. And I would be pleased to answer any questions or provide any more information.
Let's start with Councilman Mansfield.
With the partnership outline, is it in perpetuity? What happens if we decide to completely renovate half of the facility, right? We get another investor in 10 years. What does that look like?
We haven't discussed time frame. That would all be kind of negotiated still. These are kind of the rough kind of bones of it that Sean and I had agreed on, that I thought was reasonable, he thought was reasonable for return on investment. I guess a gesture or donation of this magnitude, I would think it would probably have to be maybe for, the life of the improvement type of thing.
That's kind of what I think.
That's kind of where I was leaning, but that hasn't been fully vetted yet.
So similar to the grooming machine from ICCU.
The life of that piece.
The life of that equipment. Okay. The other thing is so are there other upgrades that should be undertaken by the city at this time, separate from this project, that would be more cost effective to do now because we're already doing work? Or do you feel like this does it? This addresses everything that we really need right now?
It doesn't address everything. It's the improvements that are needed, and we've been kind of piecemealing as resources are available. We could use some upgrades in the restrooms. We've got air handling systems that are functional but archaic, that for the long term of the facility could stand an upgrade. So I think these improvements kind of reside in different areas of the facility than what we would do with city dollars.
So no real cost advantage to, for example, doing the restrooms at the same time because we're already in there.
It's just separate from the construction site.
Okay. Yeah. And then I guess I know this might be a Marchand question, but I'll ask it for him, is do you see the cost of maintenance going up due to this project? Okay.
No, we contract out our maintenance. I mean, they're maintaining our current fitness area. I guess those maintenance services would be relocated to this area. We would have another kind of open multi-purpose room, which I don't think would be terribly labor intensive. So I don't see that as a concern.
All right. Thank you.
Councilman Nichols, and then Councilman.
Josh just asked my question on the duration of the naming rights, so that's it. Thank you.
Councilman Mack.
So, because I frequent the rec center pretty well, so equipment-wise, is any of this added into this 1.25?
Not at this time. Sean said, the 1.25 is an estimate. I guess should we come in under that, I think he would be more than happy to help with some equipment. And we would like to purchase new and additional equipment over time for that bigger space and to kind of cater to, the community's needs a little bit better, but not initially. But I guess you never know until you start bidding it if that 1.25 is going to be sufficient. We think it is, but if there's anything left, I can see some new equipment coming as well.
So we have the new weight room, we have the new multipurpose room. So that basketball court that we have, does that remain the same? And then all of the activities that are taking place in there move to the multipurpose? Okay.
Yeah, that was another big one is we have a lot of youngsters and folks that like to come in and shoot hoops or whatever. And a lot of times we've got a class, sorry, and then they have to quit what they're doing. So this would also kind of open up that gym more full-time for recreational use and be able to have another place for all of the fitness classes. Yeah, exactly.
So would we need to increase any staffing?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Rick?
Councilman Marchand.
John, I just want to thank you for thinking outside the box, right? And I know this is not easy, and it benefits our community. at really no cost to us when we look at it. And I know it's a lot of hard work, and I don't think we say thank you enough. So I want to tell you that and I'm sure the entire council appreciates everything you do to make these things happen. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. It's all the credit going to the Health Trust and their generosity. We're dead in the water without.
They've done great things for this community. There's no doubt about that. Yes.
Council, just a couple of kind of brief comments on, I guess, impact on staffing resources. With this additional space, and this is one reason why I haven't gone down this road yet, and Scott, this will sound familiar to you as well from our Parks and Rec meeting, but I have had a desire for a while to go down the contract instructor route, where you tap into the expertise of community members to provide, classes and educational offerings and other things on, say, I don't know, a 70-30 split. So it's just, the city's not making a ton of money, but they're not expending resources for staff as well. And then you get, who knows, photography classes or sewing classes or whatever the case may be that might interest the community. And on a 70-30 split, where they would not pay for the space of this new vacated multi-purpose area, and then we would also list them in our brochure to help them get the word out. So I would like to, with this additional space, if and when it comes to fruition, I'd like to explore contract offerings.
Councilman Norton.
So I first would like to echo what Councilman Marchand said. Thank you. You've done a tremendous job on this, but also other partnerships, and it's been a great benefit to our city to provide things at minimal cost to the city and to taxpayers. And so thank you for working on those kinds of partnerships. My question is really about time frame. So you mentioned, the goal is to get an MOU and to get our approval on that, but there's still details and things to be worked out. So what are kind of the next steps that you're envisioning, and what's the time frame for moving forward with this?
We have not had a formal partnership agreement of this type with the Health Trust, but we have had a couple with ICCU. So I've drafted a couple of agreements already that have kind of made it through the ICCU legal and our city legal. So I do have a good template. A good model. And I don't think that the remaining details are going to be difficult to iron out with Sean and the Health Trust. He's in full agreement of everything here. I think we might just be down to the time frame of the partnership, to be honest. So I would think that I could have a draft agreement for council consideration, maybe, I know the second meeting in January, I think, was canceled, wasn't it, Connie?
Yeah.
The first meeting's probably ambitious, but maybe the first meeting in February, something like that.
Okay.
And then I know the Health Trust is very excited to get going on this. They just, the return on investment, and then also how it just really seamlessly meshes with their Healthy Cities USA initiative and their mission altogether. So they're anxious to get going.
So if we did, let's just say we had a signed MOU as of that first meeting in February, when do you think work would begin on the project? Would you need to wait?
Sean's
For better
preferred
weather.
contractor is construction services. And I'm not sure exactly what their workload is, but they have been involved in these discussions, and they know that this may be forthcoming. So it's going to depend on what their availability is, but I would imagine a couple months of construction, maybe 3 to kind of get it done. After that, so kind of whenever they can get in there and start, a few months after that, probably.
Excellent. Thank you.
Councilman Bingham.
So we're at a 70% revenue for this.
At CRC.
So seriously, okay. So so during the construction phase, will it impede citizens from being able to use the rec center Because that'll, hold some of the
Sure.
funds that are coming in.
I think that as far as mobilization and construction, I think that outdoor area will not be terribly impactful to the general use of the site. We would leave the current exercise weight room intact until, that was done, and then we'd shift everything over. Depending on the time frame, we may be able to time kind of flooring and, a lot like you guys did in the council chambers, where you wait for a good time that's not too impactful and then you knock it all out. So we would do our best when it comes to kind of flooring and ceiling tile upgrades, but there will be some impact. We'll do our best to minimize it as much as possible, but I guess the benefits, fly right by, a little bit of inconvenience. This is going to set us up nice for decades to come.
Absolutely. Council President, is this a proper time to make a motion?
We have one more council person who would like to speak, and then
I apologize.
That was going to be my question, is if a motion be the most appropriate means
This
to
is an
direct
action
staff.
item on the agenda. So if someone would like to make a motion.
Go ahead, Corey, I'll second you.
I'd like to make a motion that we, the council, direct staff to prepare an agreement between the city and Portneuf Health Trust, allowing for the expansion and other upgrades to the community recreation facility for future council's consideration.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Connie, would you please call the roll?
Mangum,
Yes.
Mansfield,
Yes.
Lurick,
Yes.
Marchand.
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Cheatham.
Yes.
Thank you, council, for your support.
Thank you, John.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Exciting times.
I think our next agenda item is going to be a little lengthy. Would the council like to take a quick 10-minute break before we head into that?
Yes.
Good.
I'd like to make a motion that we take
We'll be
a
back
break.
at 10:10. Our council meeting this morning after a quick break. The next item on the council agenda is item 5, the Pocatello Comprehensive Plan 2040. Planning and Development Services staff members are going to present information to and seek feedback from the council regarding the Pocatello Comprehensive Plan 2040. Jim?
Morning,
Table
Council
is
President
yours.
Cheatham and other members of the council. Jim Anglesey, Long Range Planner for the city. And I'm happy to present to you some information on the Comprehensive Plan 2040 this morning. The first part of it's going to be mainly just a review for you that were here last time we were here, and then just catching everybody else up to speed for the new council members. And then we're going to go into a sneak peek of the draft introduction, which you've all received that, and get any of your feedback, comments, or questions that you may have about the plan. So the comprehensive plan is born out of what we call Our Valley, Our Vision. Our Valley, Our Vision is a planning process for the city that is focused on these 4 points: equity, education, empowerment, and engagement. And this process culminates not only just the comprehensive plan, but Our Valley, Our Vision encompasses more community plans in the future to complement the comprehensive plan, as well as focus on other areas. As you see in this graphic, they're all part of the puzzle of Our Valley, Our Vision. They build off of each other, complement each other, to really give a holistic view of the vision for our community.
Bless you.
Thank you.
So comprehensive plan is really the 30,000 bird's eye view of city plans for the next 20 years. It connects the community's vision to goals and strategies that we as a city or the community as a whole could achieve in the next 20 years. And again, it provides a framework for all of their city plans. And so, for example, the downtown development plan should fit under this comprehensive plan. And other neighborhood plans or other focused plans will all kind of fit underneath this comprehensive plan. The platform or the foundation of the comprehensive plan are those community values. And those were attained in 2021 through a whole year of outreach, survey work, open houses. And since then, we've been trying to diligently comb through all the responses we got. Most of it is qualitative. You can't just crunch the numbers. You have to look at all the responses and kind of interpret that. And so we've gone through it, going through it again, just to make sure we're getting things right. And we hope we're doing that as a result of the plan. Those community values turn into vision, and that vision is made up of what we found through that input as 7 vision elements or themes that provide an organizational method throughout the plan. We won't get into the goals and strategies of those elements today, but in forthcoming meetings, we'll get into those details and look at those goals and strategies for each of those elements. And those elements, like I said, goals and strategies, they're broken down so we can set expectations and have that general idea of what we're going to do going forward in the future. So in 2021, just again as a review, we attended 20 events. Of those events, 8 of them were our own open houses for the comprehensive plan. We sent out invitations to those open houses to all households in the city. And while open house attendees were low, it was a good turnout based off of other comprehensive plan outreach efforts. One of those activities was giving people a blank slate of what their vision is for Pocatello, what they'd like to see Pocatello to be in 2040. And those visions ranged, as you can see some of the examples here, from downtown revitalization to indoor water parks and splash pads and everything in between. Another activity we did was to allow people to tell us what their favorite places in Pocatello were. And this map is a result of that, being downtown ISU and most of its focus there, and open spaces all throughout Pocatello. This activity was focused on what we call a visual preference survey, what people would like to see in each of these 4 categories, with the biggest responses being mixed use, trails, public markets, and bike lanes throughout those 4 topics. This activity, area amenities, this allowed people to pinpoint areas that they like improved amenities throughout the city, improved infrastructure, facilities, or no development at all. So we gave them full range of what they think that they would like to see in each of these neighborhoods or areas throughout the city. And this map kind of shows the culmination of that. And for those of you that don't have this, I can get this to you. It wasn't provided in your packet, but I can get this if you're interested in looking more in depth in all of these. This activity is called funding priorities. Pretty much if they were in charge of the budget, what would they like to fund? And this was the result, with parks and recreation being at the top. Wow. And water quality and beautification being close second and third. Now, all these activities were throughout the open houses and online. The survey that we put out was also provided online and in paper format. Majority of those were online. But we asked these questions. We left it wide open so people would feel free to give us their open and honest responses about essentially what they love about Pocatello and what they didn't, or what were the challenges and what should be improved. These are the demographic results, 862 responses, which is a 1.5% response rate based on our population. But in comparison to other previous comprehensive plan outreach, previous ones range between 150 to 200 survey responses. So going online was probably the best, the best thing that we chose to do. Like I said, a majority of those were online. I won't go too much into the demographics, but again, if you want to see that more in detail, we'd be more than happy to provide that for you. All these responses have culminated into a vision and vision elements. And so just to read it, in 2040, Pocatello is a creative community that is outdoor-oriented, economically robust, environmentally resilient, connected, safe, and accessible, and is comprised of authentic and affordable neighborhoods and fosters civic collaboration. And so that was just a quick view of our efforts to get out into the community, get responses from what the community would like to see, their values, and again, we've gone through. Hopefully, we got the right message. But again, we keep going through those responses, making sure that we got it right based off of the information we got. And so, as a result, and this is what's provided in your packet, is a preview of the introduction of the plan. And as we go through it, I like to just initially, if you guys have any questions that you've seen, if you've looked through it, just stop me. And so, but we'll go through all these pages. Most of this is what I've already explained to you, just kind of introducing what the comprehensive plan is, how it works with other plans, and how the city should use it. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I just real quick to frame the conversation around the introduction. How long do we expect this document to be in its entirety?
So the introduction and all the elements, goals, and strategies is about 70 pages.
Okay.
If you add the appendix, it's double that.
Okay. And then what means is this going to be available to citizens to access? I'm sure it'll be on the city website. Are there going to be smaller brochure size, 1-2 page kind of thing, front and back, that will be available at other city events, sitting out in the lobby, those kind of things? Is that part of it as well?
We haven't thought of Reader's Digest
Okay.
type things. They would be available for print if people requested that.
Thanks. Appreciate
Yep.
it. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries.
Brent, did you have?
That might be a premature question, but when do you expect the entire comp plan would be finished?
We're looking at the first half of next year.
Okay.
Again, that will fluctuate based off of feedback and staff workload and all of that, because this will be going through planning and zoning too, and we'll be combing through it all. So just based off of that feedback and your feedback and the community's feedback when we present it to the community, that might fluctuate when it will come before the council for
All right,
adoption.
perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions at this point, council? Proceed.
Okay. The comprehensive plan is really to be used to the city as a guiding document for the future. You can use it to help in budgeting decisions, regulation changes, standards, policy decisions, and then outside of the city, for people that are looking to come in, really kind of gauge what the community is like and what they want for future development. We've gone through this, our effort to be collaborative with the community. We've gone through the framework. Our response to input from the community, it culminates into our planning approach. Kind kind of how we not only as a department, but as a city sees planning and development. And this is the platform of us looking out. And then when you get into the goals and strategies, that should represent the community looking back at us. So kind of both sides. But this planning approach is focused on what we call a smart growth approach. It's similar to what's already in our current comprehensive plan, but we've advanced that and hopefully provided more detail to how that works, how that's implemented. And so you'll see things like fostering a strong sense of place, encouraging mix of uses, being collaborative and equitable in the community, encouraging walkable neighborhoods and getting more of those choices that people want, more than just the same thing, but diversifying that development. And so this part of the introduction goes more in depth about what smart growth is, what a smart code is. And if you've looked through our current comprehensive plan, we do mention this as well as the idea of transects. And I could probably spend a whole day going over what transects are and what the smart code is. And so I don't expect you to completely understand this right now, but if you are interested, we can go further into what a smart code is, what form base is, and all of that. But again, like I said, it'll probably be a longer conversation to completely understand that. When you get down to it, form-based or smart code really looks at not so much the use of properties, but what it looks like. If you're in a neighborhood and it's homes, that's a neighborhood with homes, and that helps dictate the use. Versus if you're on Yellowstone, that's obviously a commercial area. And while uses can fluctuate in through that, like we already have the ability to have residential in a commercial area, but it looks different than if you're in a neighborhood. And so this kind of helps just look at the existing development patterns that we'd like to see, and base it off of that more so than the use. So it gives you a greater flexibility in development going in the future. What you see here is just the idea of transects, how cities naturally progress from rural or natural to an urban core, and then a map of what that may look like for Pocatello, progressing from natural to urban core in our downtown. So that was development patterns. This is transects. Transects act like zones. So where we have currently commercial zones and residential zones, this is similar, but it's a different focus. It focuses on the type of development from our urban core to our suburban neighborhoods and rural neighborhoods and our natural areas. That was a crash course on smart code. Do you have any questions on that?
Council? Go, Jim.
Okay. In the interim, we would like to see the city transition into that smart code, but until we get there, we still have to provide a future land use map that reflects our current zoning ordinance. And so this is our future land use map in the interim that reflects future land uses that match with our current zoning. So you got commercial, residential, industrial. We have proposed the introduction of urban core, which is kind of synonymous with our central commercial zone, just emphasizing that downtown development.
Jim?
Yeah,
for Mansfield.
you made a point here that I think I just wanted to follow up on. You said you would like to eventually move to that smart code, but right now we need a future land use map that reflects our current zoning ordinance. In the past month, we talked about infill and kind of discussed infill ordinance, and we are I know coming up like sign code is going to be included. Are those discussions framed inside of the comprehensive plan? And what you guys know is kind of coming in that comprehensive plan? Or are we going to have to revisit those conversations in 6 months?
We're hoping it's all synonymous. Yeah, that it's all working together. There'll probably be tweaks here and there. But infill, the way smart code works is completely different from what we're looking at right now.
Okay.
Our current zoning ordinance, we're making tweaks here and there to make it work better. But in the planning world, our current zoning ordinance is really based off of what we call Euclidean zoning, single use zoning, all of that. And when you get more into form-based, it works a lot different because you're basing it off of development patterns and existing patterns. And what the community really wants their neighborhood to look like and feel like, and function like.
So we were kind of improving the system as it is, but eventually with the comprehensive plan, we're going to need to kind of reinvent the wheel a little bit as to how we look at zoning.
Essentially,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, that makes sense.
That's what we're bringing up here is that you're going to have to, instead of trying to Band-Aid a problem, you're going to have to look at it as a whole and come at it at a different approach.
Thanks, Jim.
Councilor Lord.
Just lost what I was, oh, I know what it was. It was very specific, actually, about the category that you added, the urban core, which I guess is sort of part of shifting to the other type of zoning. And I'm just curious about the specific things that you added as urban core. There's the corridor, which is fairly obvious, but those other little red spots, is the one sort of they're not the little ones at the bottom, but there's sort of three that are kind of off to the side there, right side, I guess. The bottom one of those three, is that the hospital area?
Right here.
Yes.
So this one is like Vista Drive and Center Street. Hospital is up on top right here.
Okay.
So these reds are actually the commercial zone rather than urban core.
Oh,
The reds are slightly similar,
I thought red, oh,
but, so there's a
So
light
where's the
red that's commercial.
urban core.
okay. Up there, they look the same to me,
Yeah,
okay.
it changed color.
I was
shaded right
wondering why we had little pockets of urban core that were sort of off-center, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
those are just
So they're not.
commercial
Gotcha.
centers.
that makes a lot more sense.
And then
Thank you.
you'll just be seeing the urban core in the downtown.
Right there, that makes total sense,
Okay.
thank you.
Any other council questions at this point? Proceed.
This just goes over how we're going to make it happen, the implementation of the plan, and then accountability for us as we go forward. What we looked at when we first started this whole process, we really took a dive into our current comprehensive plan and to see how that came about or was implemented. And we feel like a lot of it, while great goals and great content, it was one of those things where staff didn't have the time, people got preoccupied, and it was a plan that sat on the shelf for the most part, with the exception of some things. We're trying to revamp a commitment to implement the goals and strategies that the community wants, because that's the whole point of the comprehensive plan, is to get it implemented. And so this goes over kind of how that's going to happen, how it's going to take more than just the planning department for that to happen. And it's going to take the community as a whole and making those partnerships with other organizations to make this happen. Again, there will be those opportunities to update the plan as we go through it to address changes in the market, changes in development, as well as just things that we may run into, things that we thought may be viable and that may need to change. And then we're looking at, as we go throughout this 20-year process, providing annual reporting and updates for the comprehensive plan, seeing where we're at and what needs to be changed, what needs to be fixed, and how we can improve our efforts to implement the plan. And again, you saw this as the vision that this all comes back into. Question?
Budget?
I did want to ask about the vision there. And in developing that, I mean, obviously you got all the feedback that you talked about earlier, and you got feedback from us, you got all these different things that you're bringing together. Did you also include our mission statement and values? Is this directly connected to that?
Probably not directly, but you'll find similar, all those points within it.
So I guess my question is really, is this meant to sort of support that and
support
complement that? Okay,
Yep.
good. And you consciously took that into consideration?
Yep, we'll make sure it's for sure in there.
Great,
It may not be directly
right,
verbatim, but it should be weaved in throughout.
right. And there is a difference between a mission statement and a vision statement. They're not the same thing, but I just want to make sure that they work together and are complementary and coordinated. And
Okay.
good, thank you.
Councilor Mansfield?
In that part on accountability and revision, I would think that it might be worthwhile to put, because are you going to, you said you'll have annual accounting revisions. Are you going to have other kind of benchmarks about where you're going to reevaluate the plan or, look at different aspects of it? And the reason this comes to mind, we're reaching a point for the sign code, for example, that we said it's time that we just sit down and look at the comprehensive sign code rather than continuing just to make adjustments, amendments, and exceptions. I would like to see similar dates with triggers in this comprehensive plan to do a comprehensive review of whether that be the smart code, signage, whatever, those things that I think are incorporated inside of this, so that it doesn't become, oh wow, it's actually been 10 years since we looked at this, we just got busy. So I don't know if that's in there.
Yeah, I think I have it here at the bottom.
There's annual reporting and updates.
We talk about it's likely that we'll need to look at it every 5 years.
Okay.
Isn't that required?
It's not required. It's good practice, though.
Okay.
Is to really take a good look at it every 5 years. And again, every year we'll look at it too, but 5 years will be our kind of in-depth.
The big in-depth,
Yeah.
okay.
Could I ask a question? Define an authentic neighborhood for me.
An authentic neighborhood?
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question in response to that. What do you, when you think of a good neighborhood in Pocatello, what neighborhood do you think of? That's true to itself, that's authentic.
To me, that word doesn't have any real meaning here. I mean, every neighborhood is real, and real to me is authentic, and I don't understand the application of that word in this context.
So authentic means bringing out the best in the neighborhood. I could probably ask each and every one of you in the neighborhoods you live in why you love your neighborhood, and that's what makes it authentic. But there are ideas of neighborhoods that are just rubber stamped and nobody cares about it. There's no investment in the neighborhood, and it goes downhill type of thing. Authentic could mean that people are investing in their neighborhood, people care about it, and they're active in their community, active in their neighborhood.
So do we have some unauthentic neighborhoods?
That's up for the community to decide. When we think of active neighborhoods, and I'll use active as another word. A lot of people look at, oh, college neighborhood is a model neighborhood. And that's a lot of what we hear is the college neighborhood is kind of the prime neighborhood. And for one, it's historic, and historic neighborhoods bring that authenticity based off architecture that makes it authentic, that it's well planted, well rooted in the community, has an identity, and people see that, oh, that's the good neighborhood, quote unquote type of thing. And so authentic could mean a lot of things. It's very hard to pin down because it's the look and feel and the aesthetics and the people that bring it all together as authentic. Hopefully that answers the question.
Rick?
Any other questions? Linda?
Not a question, but I do want to compliment you on all this work. And I mean, this is a tremendous amount of work, and the effort that you put in to get feedback and input from all the different constituencies and individuals, groups, everything. I think that is tremendous. And I really, really like the emphasis on not just updating the comprehensive plan, which, you know, cities are supposed to do, but really developing a plan that we would use. I think so often it's just an exercise that cities go through and then they have it on the shelf and then you just go back to your business. But to have a plan that, you know, captures all of our values and our vision and then, you know, puts that into practice. So I think that's a very good goal to make this a usable living document. So I commend you on that, and thank you.
Appreciate it. A lot of work has gone into it. All planners are on deck trying to get this done with all the other duties that they're responsible for, and so couldn't do it without the whole planning team.
Councilor Magna and then Nichols.
Again, great job. This is awesome, number one. Number two, so we've talked about code enforcement and stepping up our efforts for code enforcement. So will law enforcement be looped in on this? Will they have a voice in this to where we can kind of hear what they're thinking, what they're seeing, and then we can also go back to that code enforcement idea and really implement a little more pressure on that?
Sure. To start off, like this is a vision plan, not so much code or ordinance. At the beginning of the whole process, we approached all the departments to see, gauge their interest in the plan and if they could bring in some of their thoughts or goals into it. And we're really trying to do that. Law enforcement has provided us some of their goals and desires, and hopefully throughout the goals and strategies, you'll see those weaved in. Our element of civic collaboration will kind of be the place where a lot of that is. But we try to weave it in and out. We didn't want each of these vision elements to just be a standalone thing. We wanted them to touch all the other elements and kind of bring it all in as one. So you'll see where maybe a goal or strategy in one element may complement two or three others. They don't really, it's not really just this works for this and that's it. It's kind of just comes all in around. And so yeah, to answer your question, we have gotten some feedback from departments, and we're trying to work that in to the plan as well.
So as you gather your public input, are you finding that the community is extremely cohesive on what they want, or sort of cohesive? You know, what's the strength of the vision?
There are some specific topics that were stand out.
Okay.
A lot of that was parks and recreation. we joked to John Banks that we might as well just not do a comp plan, but just do a Parks and Rec plan. Because that's really kind of what we heard, was that people want improved parks, people want improved access to natural amenities. And you'll see that once we get this out, we're gonna have a full public engagement report with all the data. And you'll really see that the big chunk is outdoor recreation.
So on the flip side of that, where's the lack of cohesion? Where are we fractured as a community on what we want to see?
There is a lot of back and forth on the way the city operates, back and forth on that. There's a lot of back and forth on we have a traffic problem and we don't have a traffic problem. So like infrastructure issues, there's a lot of back and forth on that. But really people focused on what they really wanted, and it really came down to some specific topics.
So it's strong support then for those top issues?
Yeah.
Jim, can you go back to
Counselor Wynn-
that
oh, Counselor
slide
Wynn, and then
that kind of
Counselor
had
Lang.
those
I had
points? Sorry, go ahead.
I had a question, but I just wanted to ask it because it's directly related
Yeah.
to what Brent was talking about, because you said that you mentioned the top two things, and far and away, the top thing was Parks and Rec, like outdoor recreation, that kind of, but I was interested also in the second top thing, which was water quality and beautification. And there was a lot of agreement around that area too, which are some things we've been discussing in our goal-setting sessions. So I'm interested in those top categories and just find it kind of fascinating what rose to the top. And that it was mainly Parks and Rec, but not only Parks and Rec, that other second category is an interesting one.
It was interesting watching it live, all the data coming in, because you see an uptick in the water quality discussion surrounding the well two and all that going on, because we had the survey going on around the same time. And so when that kind of came out, water quality kind of rose up. And so it's kind of interesting seeing that come in live and how it fluctuated with the discussion in the general public.
And I think that, what you're saying is very true, that when there is an issue, then that is going to rise up. But I also think there's an ongoing,
It's an
strong
ongoing
interest in water quality in our area, and we should be paying attention to that.
Yep.
Can you go back to those two slides that showed exactly what Brent was asking about, the cohesive agreement between the people?
That,
Perfect.
This one?
yeah.
That one, and there's one just before that showed like the top two, like that one right there. No, that's not it.
That's about it. This kind of shows development patterns and what people prioritize as far as, and one of the big things, like I said, was infrastructure improvement. And so you kind of see that throughout here in street design, and then Parks and Rec improvement. A lot of what we saw were trail access. People love the trails here. And that really took a big chunk of people's input.
And if we can go back to that other one that you were on at first with the wheel, that one right there.
we go.
That's the one.
Just to kind of put this into context, this is one activity at our open houses. And so it doesn't really reflect the survey responses, just the people that participated in the open house events.
So do we have anything that would show a mixture of the two of those, the open house plus the surveys?
It's coming.
Okay. I assume so. Sorry. But if you could email this out to us, that would be great.
Yeah.
Council, I got to say, I attended all 8 of those open houses. And one thing that I was really discouraged by the poor attendance. If there were 8 or 10 people, and I was only there 15 minutes to a half an hour at each one, I couldn't stay for the whole thing. But if there were six or eight people there at any one time, that was a good attendance. The one that probably had the best attendance was full of kids at Pocatello High School, very young people. And the one thing that I noted is there were some people who were at every one of them, who salted, I think, some of the proceeds here.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, unfortunately, Linda, were environmentalists. So I think the water quality thing is overemphasized here because of that.
I think those people do come and are therefore interested, but I hear that all the time in the community at
I hear it
large.
from no one.
I hear it a lot, so.
I think it depends on who we talk to.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that it was overemphasized in this.
Based on the attendance, I would.
And I think the low attendance is a common issue with any kind of things like this, where you have open houses. Back when Bannock County was updating their comp plan, it was at the same time as the gearing up towards the 2020 census. And so our census committee members went to all of their open houses as a way to, get our census information out and educate the people. And their process, I think, had lower attendance than ours did. So it is a common problem. But often what you get, even though it's low attendance, it's still representative of groups in the community and the sort of larger population in the community and what they're interested in.
I guess my disappointment in the attendance was that Jim and Brent and staff did a tremendous job of
Yeah.
publicizing these things.
Yeah,
And 1% of the people contacted showed up. 1% of the people is all that
Yeah.
really cared enough to take a hand in producing a comprehensive plan for us, and that was disappointing.
and that is, yeah.
I commend you on the work you've done. It's going to be interesting to watch this come to life because it will be a living, breathing document that's going to take more than I think we all realize at this point. I mean, you guys got your hands full right now, and once it gets going, to keep it running, when I look at this thing, I mean, for councils in the future, is going to be a beautiful thing, right? It's nice to be able to look down and say, this is where their vision was and where are we going and how do we make that happen? I agree with, you look at our city's always been the same. You have water quality because the people that come out and do that care, right? They're the ones that are attending. We have a lot of people that just sit back and watch and do nothing and until something happens that they don't like, and then they'll tell you that they were at every meeting and they were not. I think it's all going in the right direction. I mean, when we sit down and talk as a council, that's kind of what I'm looking at here. In our goal setting session, I mean, we talked a lot about water as a council and parks and rec and trail systems.
And beautification
which makes me feel better right now because I feel like we're kind of in touch. I mean, we're not, when I look at this and compare to what we have talked about, we're going in the same direction. So continue on with the good work. It's because this thing is not going to be easy. And it's going to get picked apart, I'm sure, at times. But again, I commend you and everyone that's helped you on getting this thing going. I'm a big pusher for time. I want to see it done, right? You're telling me 23, 24. I get how it takes that long, but we're 3 years in it right now, basically, right? Mm-hmm. And you're saying you got another year. And I'm guessing you probably got more than that before it gets to where it's taking its first big breath. But push it if you can. I mean,
And you've just seen the introduction, and so you have 3/4 left to look at.
What do you need from the council? to help you to get this all done?
Any feedback that you're willing to give, that's, I think, at your level, that's what we need. And you're more than welcome to come to the planning department. We've got all our draft pages up on the wall, so you can look at them if you want and provide comment of the content or what it looks like. That's kind of where we're at right now. Once we kind of get the draft wrapped all up, we are going to bring it back out to the community and to see if we got it right, and see if we can proceed with moving forward with the plan. But those are the next steps. Kind of just give you an idea. Again, this timeline is tentative based off of feedback and staff workloads, but this is kind of what we're shooting for right now. It may change tomorrow, but this is what we're at right now. A lot of it will be working with planning and zoning to just go over it with a fine-tooth comb, making sure that they're okay with it. And then we're planning to be back in front of you in March or thereabouts to go over the rest of the plan.
Any other comments, council?
I just think the March 2023 thing, I mean, the public open house, those are things we have to become involved in. We have to advertise that big. We have to make a huge push to get people to those things, and then it's up to them.
Anything else? Any final comments, Jim?
I think that's it. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, with that, we are adjourned from this meeting. We'll be gathering in the Iwazami room. There's been a change in location due to security issues, so we'll be moving to the Iwazami room for our special meeting.